Hello everyone, I'm Dragons After Dark, and welcome to the Pet Battle Report, your weekly news and information source for all things Pet Battle. This week we're going to go over what I've experienced in the time rifts on the PTR, along with a couple of other sort of related pet topics. Before we get into that though, let's go over everything going on this week on Azeroth and beyond for your pets. Starting off with the Shadowlands, we have the Venthyr Assault, which offers no pets for us to collect, but on Friday evening reset, this will transition to the Night Fae Assault. For the Night Fae Assault, we're looking to have the quest A Shady Place up, which gives you access to the rift and the treasure for the infused ether worm. Even if this isn't up, you'll still have a chance for the invasive buzzer from the assault cache. In battle for Azeroth, Enzoth is assaulting the Veil of Eternal Blossoms, which means the rares The Forgotten give you a chance for the pet Cuddly, and Will of Enzoth for the Corrupted Tentacle. Until the Friday evening reset, the Akir Assault is up in Uldum, where you'll find the rares Skixtraz, who has the chance to drop the Akir Tunneler, and Lord Ajkarai, who drops Rot Breath. Once the Friday evening reset comes along, the new assault will not offer any pet drops from rares. Then for islands this week, we have the Molten Cay, Rotting Mire, and Whispering Reef, and for the salvage, it's Crestfall, Dreadchain, and the Verdant Wilds. As for the Vol'dun Assault, the next one for NA will be on Sunday at 5 AM Pacific, while for EU, it will be on Saturday at 8 PM Pacific. I'll put a link to WoW info in the description that will display the faction assaults for you in your local time. Until 11:59 PM Pacific today for NA, the Greedy Emissary will be spawning from portals in the Dragon Isles and the capitals, so if you haven't got Belial yet, don't miss out. It has a really good drop rate, and most people usually have one to trade if it doesn't drop for you. This week we have Comp Stomp. If you're like me and dislike doing PvP against actual humans, this event offers AI enemies for players to compete against. This can help you on your way to those honor level pets if you still need them. Mists of Pandaria Time Walking is also up, and this week's Time Walking vendor offers two pets, the Paradox Spirit and the Infinite Hatchling, and they both cost 2,200 Time Warped badges from the vendor Mistweaver Jia on the Timeless Isle. There's also an achievement reward pet from Storm Stout Brewery, the Hopling, who is a reward from Ling Ting's Herbal Journey. I'll put a link to the Wowhead comments on how to get this pet. And that's it for the week. I was on the PTR yesterday and managed to have a few other people there as I was in the Time Rift. This meant I was able to get all the way through one for the first time. This experience was much better than the actual first time I went against the end boss alone. From the time rifts, we'll get Paracausal Flakes, which are the currency we'll need for many of the items from the 8 vendors, including the pets. Each of the 7 pets will cost 6,000 Paracausal Flakes for a whopping 42,000 total. The most I got at once was from a chest, which I believe was from a quest, and it had about 1,500 flakes in it. You'll also get chests at different tiers from the Time Rift event itself, kind of like the Researcher event, but I didn't see how many dropped from that. It also looks like you get a reward at each tier. When I hopped into the Time Rift, the other players had completed the first tier and the reward popped up in my bag. And I imagine if we'd made it to the second tier, we would have gotten another. So I think for the number of flakes we need, this is a nice change from the Researchers. That said, I'm not sure about 1,500 from each rift, but if we see around 500 from each event, that'll still be around 84 events for all the pets. This doesn't include all the other items you might want to buy, or if we'll see diminishing returns from doing multiple events in a day or week. This doesn't feel as bad as Genesis modes, but that's an eye-watering number of rifts, even though they'll be available at the top of each hour. Hopefully we won't see any less than this. I plan on trying to run some more just to test the lowest tier, since I'm sure I can't complete one on my own. However, this will give me a better idea of whether the rewards in the tiers diminish. But that's it for now for the time rifts. Speaking of Genesis motes, let's take a look at our Battle Pet of the Week from Zereth Mortis, selected by the random pet feature on Warcraft Pets, Jordy. Now this pet doesn't cost Genesis motes, but it still involves some farming, which is pretty on brand for the last patch in Shadowlands. First, you'll need to progress the main story campaign on Zereth Mortis to unlock an NPC named Fyrim, which will then grant access to Fyrim's Spare Forge Tap. This item can be used on various progenitor forges around Zereth Mortis to collect ephemera strands. The forges are just the orbs you see floating around and stuck in the ground all around Zereth Mortis. Combine 15 of these strands together to create an ephemera orb, which, according to Wowhead, has an 8% chance to drop the pet. That drop chance doesn't seem too bad until you consider the forges have some kind of internal cooldown that felt like it was shared between players, but don't quote me on that. I'd usually do my full round of all the orbs I liked to hit up, then wait 20 minutes to do another round. I imagine at this point it would be far easier to farm, especially since you outlevel most enemies. It looks like if you get the pet in under 10 orbs, you're doing really good, with around 20 seeming to be the average from a few comments, though one person noted they got theirs on the 55th. Yikes. Unfortunately, Jordy is not cageable despite being a drop pet, and you can only have one. I'm still holding out hope that someone on the dev team will make it cageable, and I keep one sitting in my bank just in case. Because it is not cageable and it can be a bit of a grind, this pet is only owned by around 25% of Xufu's profiles. On top of that, its moveset isn't too much to write home about, though at 341 power with Arcane Blast and Crystal Overload, you could do some serious damage to a flyer. Since it's a magic pet, you don't have to worry about dying before you can do the 2 moves, but don't expect to be faster than your enemy because this pet's speed is 244. And that's it for Jordy. As for the other news of the week, it's not directly pet related, but kind of. There's been a bit of a controversy stirring amongst the community about some image files that point toward traders' tenders coming up in the in-game shop because of how they're named. Now, we don't know if that's for sure what they're for or if it's for something else. What I'd like to see is if there may be icons for completing bonus objectives beyond that first bar. I think that'd be a great direction for them to go in, especially since I know I keep getting notifications about completing something from the log after I'm finished for the month, and the fact that if they're gonna keep putting multiple mounts, pets, and mogs without us knowing what's coming up next, I'd really like a way to earn more tenders. There are some awesome things that come up, and while I'm not greedy and I don't necessarily need to clean out the shop every month, I'd like to be able to get more than just a pet and or a mount without worrying about what pet might come up next month that I'll need to buy. And yes, I said need. I know exactly what'll happen. If I don't buy it, it'll end up in 50 strategies on Xufu's that I'll have no way to verify. But what do you think? Are you waiting to hear what they'll be for before passing judgment? Or do you think old Kabi Boddock and his band of corporate cronies have stuck their fingers in the WoW pie again when they saw the player engagement with the trading post? Let me know in the comments below. Before we head out for the day, my tip is about saving stones. If you're looking to use Legion or Squirt leveling strategies, save your stones and charms to use on the pets you'll need for those teams. When I did my fresh account on EU, I looked up the strategies for the Legion Tamers and Squirt that had pets I could access through battles or gold I'd made. An example is Sanctum Strat from Body Sunwaver. It uses 2 high utility pets, Anomalous and the mechanical Pandaren Dragonling. Anomalous is super cheap at around 50 gold, and the MPD can be cheap or pricey depending on your realm, but considering how many strategies it's used in, it'll be well worth the purchase. Once you get those teams set up, use your stones on them first and do it based on what Legion Tamer is up next, or rather for that day. We don't ever know who's going to be up next. Or Squirt's team if she'll be up soon. I know it's difficult for me to not just throw stones at my leveling queue right when I get them, but this will help give a strong base that will carry you through a lot of leveling in the future. And that's going to be it for me today. I'll have all the pertinent links available on my tweet for the podcast, as well as in the description once it's uploaded to Spotify and YouTube. Until next time, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day or night, and happy battling!